So in this video, we're going to talk about graphing inequalities. We're going to move away slightly from equations for just a little while. Now, when we graph inequalities, we're going to be graphing them on a number line. As you get into 7th and 8th grade, you're going to be graphing them on an actual coordinate plane, but like I said, for now, we're just going to graph them on a number line. Okay, so when we talk about inequalities, we're going to think about the words minimum, and we're also going to think about the word maximum. And these words are going to become very important as we start to put these inequalities into actual word problems, okay? So we're going to start to think about speed limits. So do speed limits represent a maximum or a minimum? We're going to start to think about theme parks and these little signs that are at the beginning of the line of a ride. So like when you stand next to this sign, does this represent a minimum height or a maximum height? And then this is a sign in an elevator. It tells you how many people can go in an elevator. And again, does that represent a minimum or a maximum? Okay, so here's a speed limit sign for a school zone. It says school speed limit 20 miles. So name two acceptable speeds for driving. So based on the speed limit sign, what are two appropriate speeds for driving? Well, one appropriate speed for driving could be 16 miles per hour, and another appropriate speed limit for driving could be 18 miles per hour. Okay? Both of those fall below 20 miles per hour. 20 miles per hour is going to be the maximum speed that you are allowed to go according to the sign. Name two illegal speeds for driving. Okay, so if you were to be driving illegally, what two speeds would you be driving? Well, you could be driving 24 miles per hour. You could be driving 32 miles per hour. So basically, you can name any speed above 20 miles per hour. Okay, so in order to be in compliance with this sign, you need to be under 20 miles per hour because 20 miles per hour is the maximum. And this will all start to make sense in just a little while. Okay, so here I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but here we have an amusement park ride, and it's right here. And we have a sign. The ride is called the Extreme Scream, and it says you must be 52 inches tall in order to ride this ride. And this is going to represent a minimum. So at a minimum, you need to be 52 inches tall. So what are two acceptable heights for riding this ride? Okay, well, for one, you could be exactly 52 inches tall. So you can probably think about a time when you went up to the sign at a ride and you just exactly touched that line that you were supposed to be at, okay? And you just exactly made it. Another acceptable height for riding might be 57 inches tall. Name two unacceptable heights for riding. So if you don't meet the requirements, about how tall might you be? Well, maybe you're 46 inches tall, and then maybe you're 39 inches tall. So both of these would be under 52 inches. All right, here's a sign in an elevator. More than 8 people at a time will cause the elevator to stick between floors. Yes, children count as people too. So there's a little humor there, okay? So name two examples for how many people can ride on the elevator at once. So more than 8 people at a time will cause an elevator to stick between floors. So how many people might you want to have on an elevator? Well, we want to have less than 8 people. So maybe we want to have 4 people, or maybe we want to have even 7 people. Okay? All right, now, before we get to actually graphing inequalities, we want to sort of review how to set up a number line. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to graph x equals 4. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put 0 in the middle, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to find 4, which is right here, and we're going to put a point on it. Okay? We're going to do the same thing for the others. So now we're finding x equals 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to put a point on it. And now we're going to find x equals negative 2. So now we're going to go to the left, negative 1, negative 2, and then x equals negative 1. All right, so that was a quick review on how to make a number line there, okay? All right, now here's the big slide of information. What is an inequality? So an inequality compares two expressions, and it includes an inequality symbol, okay? So symbols are really the name of the game when it comes to inequalities, and we're going to be dealing with 4 different symbols. 2 of them you're very much familiar with already, okay? So the first symbol here is called greater than, which you're familiar with. The second symbol is less than, which you're also familiar with. The third symbol is called, oops, not the fourth symbol, Miss Oates. That would be the third symbol. The third symbol is called less than or equal to because it's a less than with part of an equal sign underneath. And then the fourth symbol is called greater than or equal to because it's a greater than sign with a half of an equal bar under it, okay? Now, this little chart right here are keywords that help you decide which inequality to use. We are not going to use them terribly too much in today's lesson, okay? But they are going to be oh so important in every other inequality lesson going forward. And they help you remember the name of the sign. And so I'm going to be very honest with you that you really do need to memorize which symbol goes with which words. It's going to be very important, okay? And if you need to pause the video to write them all down, go ahead. So this symbol right here again is called greater than. It's also going to be called more than. This symbol right here is less than. It's also called fewer than. This symbol right here, you'll hear it called at least or no less than, but it's also going to be called less than. Ooh, I'm sorry, I am just messing up all over the place. Let me try that again. I'm sorry, it's also going to be called greater than. Or equal to. And then this symbol right here is less than or equal to. Okay? All right, now how do we graph inequalities? So I'm going to be very honest with you. I have given you 3 steps and I'm going to show you how to do it. But even given the steps, the best way to understand how to graph inequalities is to actually do it. So if you're still confused at the end of me explaining it, it's okay. You're going to learn better once I go ahead and go through the examples. Okay, so step 1 is you're going to make sure that the variable is on the left-hand side of the inequality symbol. And all that means is when we were solving equations and you ended up with 1 equals x, you always flipped it around so that it said x equals 1. And in that situation, you need to do the same thing here, except that an equal sign flipped around is still an equal sign. And so you need to make sure that you're flipping around the inequality sign, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here, the variable is not on the left-hand side, it's on the right-hand side, okay? So we're going to flip everything around. We're going to bring the x over here to the left, we're going to bring the 5 over here to the right, and this greater than sign, we're literally going to flip it around so it becomes a less than sign, okay? Here's another example. Negative 7 is less than x. We're going to flip everything around. We're going to bring the x to the left, the negative 7 to the right, and the less than sign is going to become a greater than sign. All right, that's step 1, is making sure that the variable's on the left. Most of the time, step 1 will be done for you. Step 2 is you're going to draw a number line and locate the number that you need to graph. Okay, that's usually pretty easy. And a lot of times I'm going to give you the number line. And then you're just going to find the number. And the number will be right here. Step 3 is you're going to determine what type of circle you'll need. You'll see right here that this is an open circle. It's not colored in. And then right here you have a closed circle. It's colored in. Now, you'll use an open circle when you have a less than sign or a greater than sign. You'll use a closed circle when you have a less than or equal to sign or a greater than or equal to sign. Those are the signs with the bar underneath, okay? Then I'm going to show you how to draw your arrow from there. All right, let's get started with some examples. So step 1, is our variable on the left? Yes, it is. Step 2, locate our number, which is 2. Okay, here's 2. Now, is it going to be an open circle or a closed circle? There's no bar, so it's going to be an open circle. So I'm just going to put an open circle right there. Now I need to draw an arrow to finish my graph. The arrow is either going to go this way or it's going to go this way to the left. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this inequality a little bit bigger here so you can see my little cheat, my little trick. Okay, so this symbol right here, this inequality symbol, what you can do is you can turn it into an arrow by drawing a stick on it. You see that? So the arrow is pointing to the right now, and so your arrow is going to go to the right. And that's your answer. Okay? All right. So now for the next one, is your variable on the left? No. So we need to go ahead and fix that. So we need to flip everything around. So we're going to put the x on the left, the -3 on the right, and then we need to flip the sign from less than to greater than. Now we need to locate our number, -3. Here it is. Is there a bar under our sign? No, so we're going to have an open circle. Now, is our arrow going to the left or is it going to the right? Well, do that trick I just showed you up there. Make it into an arrow. There it is. So the arrow is pointing to the right. And there's our graph right there. There's no rule for how long you need to draw your arrow, just long enough so that I can see which direction it's going in. All right, next one here. X is less than or equal to -4. So is our variable on the left? Yes, it is. All right, now let's go ahead and locate our number, -4. Here it is. And what kind of symbol do we have? Well, we have less than or equal to. It has a bar on the bottom. So this time we're going to have a closed-in circle, and we want to make sure that we can really see that it's closed in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this a little bit bigger so that you can see that that arrow trick still works. So here's our symbol, and I'm just going to literally still make it into an arrow, and this time it's pointing to the left. And that completes our graph. All right, let's take a look at this one here. So is our variable on the left? It's not, so we need to go ahead and fix it. So I'm going to put the variable on the left, put the number on the right. This is greater than or equal to, and so I need to flip it around to less than or equal to. Okay, locate my number, which is 6, over here. And what kind of symbol is it? It has a bar underneath, and so it needs to be colored in. And then we're going to make it into an arrow, and it's pointing to the left, and so that's going to be the way that my graph goes. And again, there's no real rule for how long your arrow needs to be, just long enough so I can see which direction it is. All right, go ahead and try these 3 on your own. Remember to make sure that your variable's on the left. All right, go ahead and hit pause if you're not done, and if you are done, let's go over it. So for the first one, you should have an open circle over the 4 with an arrow pointing to the right. For the second one, an open circle over the -2 with an arrow pointing to the left. And for the third one, a closed colored-in circle with an arrow pointing to the right. All right, go ahead and try these 3. Again, making sure that your variable is always on the left. All right, go ahead and hit pause if you're not done. If you are done, let's go over it. So for the first one, you should have a closed circle over the -3, arrow pointing to the left. For the second one, an open circle over the 0, arrow pointing to the left. And for the third one, a closed circle over the 1 and an arrow pointing to the left. All right, so those are some basic inequalities. Now let's talk about some compound inequalities. So a compound inequality is a statement where you have two inequalities that are joined by the word and or by the word or. Okay, and I'm going to show you what both of them look like. So here on the left, we have an and statement. And what I'm going to do, there we go. Okay, so here we have an and statement. You're going to see that the variable's in the middle. There's an inequality sign on both sides of the variable, and then there's a number on the outside, okay, of each side. And what this means is that we need to take this apart and make two separate inequalities. And basically, we're just going to draw a line down the middle and make this two different inequalities, okay? And so the easiest way to do this is to just take apart this side and take apart this side. And so this side is just this, and I'm literally rewriting this side. And this side is just this right here, okay? Now, for the left-hand side, the fix that I need to make is making sure that my variable is on the left-hand side, okay? So I'm going to flip it around. And I'm going to box it off so I know that that's my final one. And then this guy was just fine the way that he was. Okay. So now I have two inequalities here. Now, because they were part of the same problem, what's going to happen is once I graph it, the two graphs are going to intersect. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So here I have x is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so here's 2, and it's a closed circle because I have a bar over it. Okay, and it's going to go this way. And then here I have x is less than or equal to 5. So here's 5, and 5 is an open circle, and it's going to go this way. And so the two graphs are going to intersect and meet just like that. And that is the answer. Okay, and really what you should do is you should have this bar nice and clean, just like that. Okay. Let's take a look at an or statement. So or statements are a little easier because they're already separated for you, and the word or will be in there already. Okay, so y is greater than 4 or y is less than or equal to -1. And all you're going to do is you're going to graph them. With an or statement, one graph is going to go out to the left and one graph is going to go out to the right. And so your graphs are going to be polar opposites. Okay. So the first graph, y is greater than 4, and then y is less than or equal to -1. And that's what an or graph looks like. All right, so let's go ahead and practice here. Okay, so here we have an and graph, and so we're going to split it down the middle. Okay, so over here we have a is less than 5. And then here we're going to have -4 is less than a, but I know I need to flip it around. Okay, so the easiest way that I find to do these is just to make my circles first and then draw my joining lines. So I know I'm going to have an open circle over the 5. And I'm going to have an open circle over the -4. I know that they're both open because I don't have bars over my symbols. And then I have my joining line, just like that. All right, over here I have an or statement. So I have c is greater than or equal to 3. That's going to be a closed circle, and it's going to the right. And then I have c is less than or equal to 0. and that is going off to the left. And they are both closed circles because of the symbols. All right, here I have an OR statement. F is greater than 3. And then F is less than -2. And again, make sure that your OR statements always go into the opposite direction. All right, here I have an AND statement, so it's going to split down the middle. So one side is going to be W is less than or equal to 4. And then the other side is -4 is less than or equal to W, but I'm going to have to flip it around. So I got W is greater than or equal to -4. So I'm going to draw my two circles first. So I have a closed circle over -4 and a closed circle over +4. And they should join. And always double check that they should join. So like for example, the 1 over -4 I know is going to the right, and the 1 over 4 is going to the left. So they do join. All right. So here I have an OR statement. So B is less than 0. And then B is greater than or equal to 5. Here I have another OR statement. Y is greater than or equal to 3. Y is less than or equal to -1. All right, you try these two. All right, go ahead and pause the video if you're not done. All right, so we should have an open circle over the -4 and the -2, and they're joined together in an AND statement. And for the second one, an open circle over the -3 going to the left, and a closed circle over the +2 going to the right. All right, that is the end of this lesson. We will do more practice in class, and then we'll get into word problems on the next lesson.